Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'll be reading The Isle of the Lost by Melissa De La Cruz. When I'm reading this book, I might say some words wrong. So let's get on with the video. Chapter 1. This is the story of a wicked fairy. It has to be a dream, Mal told herself. This couldn't be real. She was sitting by the edge of a beautiful lake on the stone floor of an ancient temple ruin, eating the most luscious strawberry. The forest all around her was lush and green, and the sound of the water rushing at her feet was soothing and peaceful. Even the very air all around her was sweet and fresh. "Where am I?" she asked aloud, reaching for a plum grape from the gorgeous picnic set before her. "Why, you've been in Eredon for days now, and this is the enchanted lake," answered the boy seated next to her. She hadn't noticed him until he spoke, but now that she had noticed, she wished she hadn't. The boy was the worst part of all this, whatever this was. Tall with tousled honey brown hair, and painfully handsome with the kind of smile that melted hearts and made all the girls swoon. But Mal wasn't like all the girls, and she was starting to feel panicked, like she was trapped here somehow, in Eredon of all places, and that it might not be a dream. "Who are you?" she demanded. "Are you some kind of prince or something?" She looked askance at his fine blue shirt embroidered with a small golden crest. "You know who I am," the boy said. "I'm your friend." Mal was instantly relieved. "Then this is a dream," she said with a crafty smile, "because I have no friends." His face fell, but before she could answer, a voice boomed through the peaceful vista, darkening the skies and sending the water ragging over the rocks. "Fools! Idiots! Morons!" it thundered. Mal awoke with a start. Her mother was yelling at her substance from the balcony again. Maleficent ran the Isle of the Lost the way she did, everything with fear and loathing, not to mention a healthy supply of minions. Mal was used to the shouting, but it made for a seriously rude awakening. Her mother was still pounding from the nightmare as she kicked off the purple satin covers. What on earth was she doing dreaming of Eredon? What kind of dark magic had sent a handsome prince to speak to her in her sleep? Mal shook her head and shuddered, trying to blink away the horrid vision of his dimpled smile, and she comforted by the familiar sound of fearful villagers begging Maleficent to take pity of them. She looked around the room, relieved to find she was right where she should be, in her huge, squeaky, wrought iron bed with the gargoyles on each bedpost and velvet canopy that sagged so low it threatened to fall on top of her. It was always gloomy in Mal's room, just as it was always gray and overcast on the island. Her mother's voice boomed from the balcony and floor of her bedroom, rattled, causing her violet lacquered chest of drawers to suddenly spring open, disgorging its purple contents on the floor. When Mal decided on a color scheme, she stuck to it, and she had been drawn to the layers of Gothic richness in the purple containing. It was the color of mystery and magic, moody and dark, while not being as commonplace and popular villains swear as black. Purple was the new black. As far as Mal was considered, she crossed the room past her grand, uneven, and more than prominently displayed of all her freshly shoplifted baubles. Trinkets of cut glass and pasted shiny metallic scarves with trailing strands, mismatched gloves, as a variety of empty perfume bottles pushing the heavy curtain aside from her window. She could see the whole island in all its dreariness. Home, freak home. The Island of the Lost was not a very large island. Some would say it was but a speck or a blight on the landscape, certainly more brown than green, with a collection of tin-roofed and haphazardly constructed shanties the tenements built on top of one another and more or less threatening to collapse at any moment. Mal looked down at this eyesore of a slum from tallest building in town. A formerly grand palace was soaring tower spires that was now the shabby, run-down, paint-trimmed, located on the island of one and only bargain castle, where slightly used enchanters' robes were stocked in every color and slightly lopsided witches' hats were only 50% off. It was also the home of some not so slightly bad fairies. Mal changed out of her pajamas, pulling on an artfully constructed purple biker jacket with a dash of pink on one arm and green on the other, and a pair of torn jeans to color of dried plum. She carefully put on her fingerless gloves and laced on her battered combat boots. She avoided small, pretty girl with an evil glint on her piercing green eyes and a pale, almost translucent complexion. People always remarked how much she looked like her mother, usually just before they ran screaming the other way. Mal released their fear, even sought it. She combed her lilac locks with the back of her hand and picked up her sketchbook, stuffing it into her backpack along with all the spray paint she always carried with her. This town wasn't going to graffiti itself, was it? In a perfectly magical world it would, but that wasn't what she was dealing with. Since the kitchen cupboards were bare as usual, with nothing in the fridge but glass jars full of eyeballs and all sorts of moldy liquids, dubious Provence, all parts of Magnificent's ongoing efforts to whip up potions and conjure spells like she used to. Mal headed to the slope shop across the street for her daily breakfast. She studied the choices on the menu. Black like your soul coffee, sour milk latte, crusty barley oatmeal with a choice of mealy apple or mushy banana, and stale mixed cereal, dry or wet. There were never many options. The food, or scraps more like it, came from Eridon. Whatever wasn't good enough for those snobs got sent over to the island of the lost, more like Isle of the leftovers. Sugar, fresh bread, and perfectly pieces of fruit made people soft. Mal and the other banished villains preferred to be brittle and hard inside and out. "What do you want?" a snarly goblin asked, demanding her order. In the past, the disgusting things that had been foot soldiers in her mother's dark army, ruthless dispatched across the land to find a hidden princess, but now their tasks were reduced to serving up coffee as bitter as their hearts in tall, grand, and venti sizes. The only amusement they had left was the ruthlessly misspell each customer's name, written with marker on the side of each cup. The joke was on the goblins, since hardly anyone could read Goblin, but that never seemed to make any difference. They kept blaming their imprisonment on the island on their allegiance to Magnificent, and it was common knowledge that they kept petitioning King Beast for amnesty, using their flimsy familial ties to the dwarfs as proof they didn't belong here. The usual, and make it snappy, said Mal, drumming her fingers on the counter. Room for month-old milk. Do I look like I want curds? Give me the strongest, blackest coffee you've got. What is this, Eridon? It was like he'd seen her dreams, and the thought made her ill. The runty creature grunted, wiggling the boil on his nose, and pushed a dark, perky cup toward her. She grabbed it and ran out the door without paying. "You little brat, I'll boil you in the coffee pot next time." The goblin shrieked. She cackled. Not if you can't catch me first." The goblin never learned. They had never found Princess Aurora either. But they, again, the dimwits, had been looking for a baby for 18 years. No wonder Magnificent was only frustrated. It was so hard to find good help with these days. Mal continued on her way, stopping to smirk at the poster of King Beast admonishing the citizens of the island to be good because it's good for you, with the silly yellow crown on his head and the big grin on his face. It was positively nauseating, and more than a little haunting, at least to Mal. Maybe the Aerodon propaganda was getting to her head. Maybe that's why she hadn't dreamt it. She was flocking in some sort of enchanted lack last night with some precious prince. The thought made her shudder again. She took a gulp of scalping strong coffee. It tasted like mud. Perfect. In any event, she had to do something about this bluster on the wall. Mal took out her paint can and sprayed a mustache and goatee on the king's face and crossed out his ridiculous message. King Beast was the one who had locked them all up in the island after all. That hypocrite. She had a few messages of her own for him, and they all involved revenge. This was the Isle of the Lost. Evil lived, breathed, and ruled the island, and the King Beast and his sickly sweet billboards cajoling the former villains of the world to do good had no place in it. Who wanted to make lemonade from lemons when you could make perfectly good lemon grandes? Next to the poster, she sprayed a thin black outline of a horned head and spread cap. Above Magnificent's outline, she scrolled "Evil Lives" in bright green paint to color of goblin slime. Not bad. Bowder. And that was much better. This is the end of the Isle of the Lost. If you like this video, make sure to give this a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.